Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. Gary Fritz, who is the Deputy Director for the Dubois County EMA, has, in his off times, created a software that is amazing for tracking a tornado that is in the testing stage, about to come out of that, and may be used nationally, I guess. Joining us in the studio is Gary Fritz. Gary, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Gary, first of all, we hear your voice over the scanner many times whenever there is a tornado, or a tornado warning, I should say, kind of keeping track. You really do have a nice, calm voice and do a great job for our people on the air to kind of keep track of what's happening. But because of your interest in severe weather, you have developed software, and what's it called?
Well, the software is called the Advanced Dual Polarization Radar Service, and that's a web-based platform on which runs two newly developed algorithms which I put together back towards the end of 2012, one being low-level rotation and another being a tornado debris signature. And if I could, I'd just explain kind of what got me started on that.
Sure.
Over the last several years, the National Weather Service made some of the most significant enhancements to their WSR 88D radar networks since those Dopplers were rolled out back in the early 90s. They gave the radars dual polarization capability. With dual pole capability, the radars are able to differentiate between the different types of precipitation, such as rain, hail, or snow. And also, the part that really caught my interest was their ability to differentiate between meteorological and non-meteorological targets, meaning the radar can actually detect debris such as insulation or siding and tell it and recognize that it's not precipitation or hail or things of that nature. And when I saw that it could do that, I knew I had to look into that deeper because it was something we could use in our skywarn operations. I looked to see if the National Weather Service had some kind of an automated program that would automatically do the detection, but they didn't have that capability. And while a person can do that, it takes a lot of work in looking at different screens and things to actually come up with this signature. So back in late 2012, I decided, well, if they didn't have this feature, I'm going to go ahead and try to develop it myself. So that's what got me started.
Now, these radars that exist, they already exist across the nation?
Yes, there's 122 Weather Service radars. When you put the FAA and the Department of Defense, there's 158 total. Okay,
and they are dual Doppler?
Practically all of them, all of the weather services, 122, are all upgraded now with dual pole capability. Here locally, the Evansville and the Paducah office completed their upgrades early in 2013, and Louisville and Indianapolis finished up in late 2012.
Okay, now the point of this software is to be able to look at a screen and know that there is debris flying around and not just moisture, which then tells you there's a tornado somewhere. I guess it just makes it easier. It brings everything together.
Yes, that's correct. And the National Weather Service indicated that the tornado debris detection capability of their new dual pole was very reliable, and that indeed, if we call it a TDS, tornado debris signature, is detected, you have a high confidence that there is indeed a tornado on the ground. Now, along with that algorithm, I also developed what I referenced earlier, the low-level rotation, which detects rotation going on at the lower elevations in a thunderstorm. And that was actually one of the requirements that needs to be there to be able to detect the tornado debris. You got to have some rotation at the lower levels, and then you got to have the debris that is coincident with that. And that low-level rotation algorithm, which I initially put together just to be able to come up with the tornado debris signatures, actually turned out to be very powerful as a standalone product by itself. In fact, the Weather Service is really quite interested in that algorithm itself.
Okay. Are you a computer programmer?
Yes, I've been doing computer programming and web-type development for a number of years. In fact, primarily because of my developing and maintaining the Southern Indiana Weather Spotter reference webpage, which is at weatherspotter.net. And the experience that I gained in developing and maintaining that website actually enabled me to be able to develop these algorithms, which they're running on a server that I'm renting down in Texas. The system is so complex and computation intensive that I finally broke down and just rented a server, to enable it to come to life.
Okay, now this thing that you have developed, this software, you've done that on your own at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. Who is going to be using this?
Well, my goal is, first off, to make sure that, the new system is reliable, which I think our year's worth of testing in 2013 has pretty well established that. But I'd like to see it rolled out this year to several National Weather Service forecast offices. One is already using it. Another one that I'm currently communicating with may get signed up, in the next few days. And then also I'm rolling it out to the emergency management community in Southwest Indiana, so that they can also begin taking advantage of its severe weather detection capabilities.
Okay, and so let's kind of play what's going to happen. You're sitting in front of your computer, there's a bad storm coming through. It's in Illinois right now. What are we seeing?
Well, as those storms are rolling in, particularly if we're under a tornado watch, we'll be watching very closely to see if there's any rotation detected at the lowest levels. Now, a lot of times if we're having supercell type thunderstorms, the National Weather Service will already have recognized the potential for tornado development. With a low-level rotation algorithm, once that tornado warning is issued and a tornado is actually developing, the low-level rotation algorithm will detect that final phase of that tornado, the funnel cloud, making its transition down to the ground level. Once we see those detections, we know that we need to look very close to see what's going on. If we have any spotters at the ground level, we certainly want to see if there's any reports of damage. But we've learned that those low-level rotation detections are frequently accompanied by tornado touchdowns.
Okay, so then let's say a tornado does touch down, which means it brings debris up into the air, and that's when your software that brings all that information together starts showing things.
That's correct. In some situations, in fact several during the last year, particularly the November 17th outbreak that impacted Washington, Illinois, and including Washington, Indiana, we were looking at the storms coming across Illinois, and as they went near the Washington, Illinois area, the the low-level rotation, very powerful, was detected, and we watched, and it developed into a tornado debris detection. One thing the system does, which is quite useful, is that it actually has an audible alarm, so that once something is detected, it'll indicate, warning, tornado debris signature has been detected. With that, it actually points it out on the radar screen. It tells us the strength of the rotation, and we can actually zoom down to the street level and see whether or where this rotation is occurring and whether it's near a populated area. It also provides a 6-minute projected movement of that storm in case there's any critical areas in its path, so that potential decisions can be made. But it's proven out to be very useful to us.
How close to real time is it?
The system operates by downloading the radar files directly from the National Weather Service, from their central distribution center. And they're pretty well in real time. It does take a minute or two to get from the radar product generator to their server, but then our system, or my system, it downloads them immediately, so they're usually within a minute or two old. And then as the radar screen updates, we're also pulling in the live storm damage reports that the National Weather Service issues, so that if there's indeed any damage being reported, frequently we'll see reports of tornado damage that are leading up to the latest detection, which kind of gives you some confidence that something is actually taking place there.
This is really significant because I've been in radio for a long time, and I can remember, first of all, when there were no radars and you just had to trust what people were seeing and conveying by the old phone lines. Then we get cell phones, makes it a little quicker. And then when we started getting the radar, it just seemed like it was always half an hour to 15 minutes behind, but now we're talking really fast.
Yes, like I say, the system updates and grabs these images in real time, so that we're actually seeing what's going on In a lot of cases, I will say that the tornado warnings are issued typically before we'll see the low-level rotation appear. But like I say, once it appears, there's a good indicator that the tornado is making that final transition. Now, I will point out there are other thunderstorm types, such as squall line type tornadoes or low-topped supercells, where the National Weather Service has a little more difficulty in being able to detect the signatures of a tornado being developed. Now, that's particularly the case with a squall line tornado. A lot of research is still going on to learn exactly how those tornadoes develop. But what is known is that when they do develop, they do so quite rapidly along the leading edge of the squall line. In a matter of minutes, one of those tornadoes can develop. Sometimes before you can pick them up using the traditional means with the existing radar. One thing the new service and the new algorithms which I developed will do is it will actually detect those squall line tornadoes that pop up very quickly. And we've actually documented some of those that occurred in the last year and shared them with the Weather Service, which that's one thing that really got their attention.
Now, this ultimately will save lives because people will be able to react. I guess that they won't necessarily react quicker because people always seem to rubberneck and like to go out and see if they see what.
Yeah,
I can't really
exactly.
see what they're talking about. However, this, when you're talking about there is a tornado on the ground and we see it in such and such a location, if you're outlying of that, you're several miles away, you know that you need to take action right away.
Right, and the tornado debris signature capability, which currently exists, with the dual polarization, at the Weather Service office, they got to go through the manual looking at the images, and whereas this system just, does it within a matter of seconds. But once a tornado debris signature is detected, the National Weather Service will frequently include that in their warning, indicating that a tornado has indeed been confirmed, as a result of that debris being vaulted up, where it can be detected by the radar. So they try to put a little more emphasis in that warning so that people are more apt to react to it and take cover.
Now, where are you in the stage of your software? It's been tested, it's being used by certain people. Where are you and where do you hope it goes?
Well, after a year's worth of testing in 2013, which established the reliability and the effectiveness of the radar, we're rolling it out this year a little bit further. Like I say, I want to get another Weather Service office or two using the software, and I'm currently rolling it out to additional emergency management agencies in Southwest Indiana. So this year is more of putting it to use and see how well it supports severe operations. And the main goal is to protect, preserve life and property. That was my intent from the very beginning. So,
well, what is your passion? What is Gary Fritz's passion?
Well, I've been involved in weather spotting for over 20 years, and at this point, I'm just wanting to do my best to come up with a system that will perhaps take us a step forward in severe weather detection capability. I'd really like to see these algorithms continue to prove themselves out to eventually become standard products within the National Weather Service's radar systems themselves.
Then we'll call it the Fritz system.
Well, I don't know if they'll do that, but maybe they'll sneak something in.
That would be pretty cool. All right, Gary, thank you very much for coming in and talking with us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
And again, I'm really bad with the names of it. What's the name of the software? Because it's
Advanced Dual Polarization Radar Service. That's the web-based platform, and then the algorithms are called low-level rotation and tornado debris signature.
Okay, well, I trust that you're right because I can't dispute that. Our guest has been Gary Fritz. He's developed that software he just spoke about. He is also the Deputy Director of the Dubois County EMA. Gary, thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We are local people watching local people.